Hey guys, Brent Sibley, Sibley Law, and today's video is going to be about figuring out what a personal injury case is worth and how we use the tools that we have to help our clients understand what their case is worth. So, the most basic understanding of a personal injury case is, the value of your case is limited or is determined, I should say, by a number of factors. The most important factor is what are your injuries, of course, who caused your injuries, and what is their financial ability to pay, which more often than not, that question turns into how much insurance is there, but ultimately it's the person who causes your injuries, the person or the business that causes your injuries, what's their financial ability to pay. And then the last piece of the puzzle is, did that person or that business cause your injuries 100%, or maybe multiple people caused your injuries and they should each take a percentage. Or maybe you were partially at fault for your injuries and the other person was only partially at fault. And what percentage is that? And that will help determine how much the other person or how much your case is worth. We use a very simple spreadsheet, and we have it saved in the cloud. And I have here on the left side of the screen is the spreadsheet that we use. It's a generic version. It has no client information in it at all, but it's going to show you exactly what you could expect if you were a Sibley Law client and we were getting close to the end of your case, and maybe we had a big offer on the table and we were going to evaluate whether or not we should take the offer and what you as the client would be looking at taking home if we were to take the deal, so to speak. So the reason that we use this and it's so powerful is because it allows you to plug certain information in and immediately it does all the calculations for you. So what does that mean? So let's just go right into it. So if you look here, you'll see at the bottom that there's 3 tabs. So there's medicals, there's costs, and then there's the closing statement. So your medicals tab is going to have on the left here all the different doctors that you've been to. And it will have, for record keeping purposes, it will have the total amount of your bill at that place. You might have health insurance, you might have car insurance that could pay for your bills. That would be in the payments and the adjustments category. And then whatever your balance is would be here in the current balance section. So I just have some nice round numbers here for this hypothetical client who went to 4 different doctors and a hospital. The total amount of their bills would be $154,000, which would be the number that we would use if we were going to go to trial, and we'd show that number to the jury, and the jury would make all of their determinations as to the value of the case based on that number. But in reality, this client only owes what's in the current balance section. So like I said, I didn't fill these in for this purpose because it's not important, but let's just assume that health insurance paid some other car insurance might have paid, some reductions were made for contractual benefits under health insurance, and that if you look at these numbers now, the client still owes $80,000 to their doctors. So this, as we go, and by the way, these numbers are a little bit negotiable at the end of a case. So sometimes we'll go in and we'll edit these numbers. So maybe this 80,000 could go down at the very end once we negotiate the balances. The cost tab is basically a tally of all the different money that the law firm has spent on your case, actual cash that we've spent. When we take your case, we spend our own money on your case, and we advance those costs. And so at the end of a case, we obviously get our money back if we win. You never have to pay us back out of your own pocket. We only get our money back if we win. So it's great for you, but it's risky for us. But that's we're prepared to take that risk. But so all of these costs are like if we hired a private investigator to go scope out the scene and try and get some security footage. If we file the lawsuit, that's the court filing fees. If we started taking depositions and we had to buy the transcripts, that costs money. Maybe we had to hire a couple expert witnesses. Some are more expensive than others, you know, this is all the monies that we spend. So $28,000 on this hypothetical case, whatever it is, would be how much the law firm actually spent out of our own money that we would be entitled to get back. Now, the final page here of the spreadsheet is what we call the closing statement, because ultimately that's the one where we figure out what's going on with the case. So you know, this is the most important field. Obviously, what are we going to settle? What are we going to settle your case for? And for a long time, it's a big question mark, because we don't know what your injuries are. We don't know if you're going to need surgery maybe right away. A lot of our cases, especially spine injury cases, you don't really understand how severe an injury is until it stays for a year, maybe 2 years, maybe 3 years. So that's you know, this number changes a lot. So anyway, the key and the reason that this is so powerful is that we can just go in here. Sometimes when we're at the negotiation table, I'll bring this spreadsheet up and I'll have it between me and my client, and we can plug numbers in. So you know, let's just say for example, we're evaluating an offer of $325,000 is what the other side is offering us, and we will. I have to fix one little thing here. That was broken. So you know, we'll put in their offer in this little column here, and then we'll let the spreadsheet do the math for us, and we'll figure out what's going on here. So $325,000. Our attorney's fees are automatically determined here. If we don't have to go into a lawsuit, our fee is a third, so it's a 33%. And then if we do go to a lawsuit, which we don't always go to lawsuits, it depends on the case. Usually the bigger cases have to go to lawsuits because the insurance companies just fight harder, obviously, as you would expect, to save more money. But it's not always that way. So you know, we either just put a 1 here or a 2. I'll put a 1 here just for this one. Let's assume that we're evaluating these offers before we file a lawsuit. So we'll do a number 1 here. So we'll leave the costs. We'll leave the costs the way they are, just for the purposes of this demonstration. And let's go back over here and let's leave everybody's bill the same. But let's say we negotiated this first doctor. Let's say we negotiated him down from $50,000 to $20,000, which on a $75,000 bill, that's pretty reasonable. Now we can quickly just, you know, as you see, you just made one little change. This number's already changed. This number's already changed. It flows through all the way to the end. And the client could say, okay, he can look right here. He can know exactly what he's looking at taking home after the case. You know, the attorney's fees are right here. The doctor's here. The attorney's costs come back out. And then the fees that would go to, or the check that would go to the client would be this amount right here. When I first got into this business about 10 years ago, you know, I saw a lot of friends of mine who are also attorneys and also clients that were not really getting good advice or counsel as to what they were going to get. So an attorney would say, "Oh, I think we should settle your case for $100,000." But by the way, remember that the attorney's fees and everything has to come out of that. And then the client would say, "So what does that mean for me?" And the attorney would say something like, "Well, it's complicated, but I'll do the best I can." But that's not really very, you know, concerning and makes you feel good. And a lot of times the clients would be walking away with maybe 20%, 25%, maybe 30% of their money, which stinks. I mean, you don't want to let all of it go to doctors and attorneys, but you gotta. Those are the costs that you have to pay in order to get the right representation and the right medical treatment. So, you know, having these tools at our disposal is very important, and helps us make the right decisions. So, I hope that this was an informative video, and you know, hope that you can understand a little bit more about how the finances of personal injury case work.